If an app has 5 million downloads and it has 300,000 monthly active users and has no team running it and has $0 being invested in marketing, but it's still growing at 2,000 downloads per day, then the question is, what new heights can we take this company to? Let's start talking about this. Suppose we had an opportunity to breathe life into a dormant company that still has an end-of-life technology, and suppose that we wanted to take it to new heights and set a valuation of, let's say, $100 million within the next 24 months. Then what steps should we take so that we reach that $100 million valuation? Well, before talking about the roadmap, let's discuss the general areas that we would want to impact in order to get to that desired valuation of $100 million. Let's take a look at 4 general areas. If we want to raise our valuation, then we need an awareness campaign to get the attention of the mavericks who speak at Davos, or at the United Nations General Assembly, or even at the Oscars. We also want to make sure that we have a very solid revenue model, because a good company makes good revenue. Now, since we are on an end-of-life technology, we want to make sure that we're adopting the right restructuring framework so that we're building a very scalable technology. And lastly, we want to focus on building a world-class team, which means that I would want to reach out to my friends at TikTok, at WPP, or at Microsoft Ventures. Okay, let's talk about these 4 points in more detail. Okay, so let's talk about an awareness campaign. If the immediate goal is to reach a valuation of $100 million, then we need to begin a conversation with the right people. And these people are at SoftBank, they're at Excel Ventures, they're at Sequoia, as well as several other places. By the way, have you realized that all of these people are using a common language these days, and they're talking about impact investments, and they're talking about investments in ESG? Well, guess what? The overarching value proposition of Voscreen is education for good. This means that Voscreen is completely aligned with the investment mandates of these large funds and family offices. So, if this is the case, then we should start meeting these investors at a place where these conversations are happening. And there's no better venue for Voscreen than at the World Economic Forum in Davos or at the UN conferences in Geneva or in New York. Now think about it for a moment. If we take Voscreen to such conferences and start a dialogue with strategic investors, then where will that put our valuation at? Okay, let's shift gears and talk about how to pitch our business model to serious players in the ESG and impact investment space. In such cases, I would recommend that we speak in a language that's aligned with their mandate and talk about how we have created an ecosystem of 50 million users, which is rapidly growing, and how we're promoting the cause of education for good. Now, I would want to further attract their attention by showing them how we're promoting 2 of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals by creating thousands of new teaching jobs and by providing quality education that's aligned with the World Bank's 21st Century Skills Mandate. And since we're talking about our business model, I want to talk to these investors about how we're providing our in-app advertising platform to responsible organizations that want to educate rather than advertise to our audience on how their companies are acting as responsible stewards of society. Now here's another thing. Since tokenization is becoming widely acceptable these days, all the large players such as Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and even SoftBank's Son are valuing token plays higher. So my goal would be to introduce tokenomics in the Voscreen app and actually pay users to learn English. This would rapidly increase our download rate and encourage people to stay longer on the site. Now let's talk about the technology restructuring process. If our goal is to increase the valuation, then we need to adopt the right frameworks during the restructuring. If our goal is to bring in artificial intelligence and machine learning, then we need to be extremely wise and understand how we can have our own customized neural networks and look at the restructuring of the technology through the lens of digital transformation. For those of you who are in the business of cutting-edge technology, then you'll also understand how valuations of companies increase when you bring in enterprise architecture and allow the boardroom to manage the technology through a GRC. If shareholders want to build Voscreen as a technology play, and if you want to take it into the direction of a unicorn, then all we have to do is follow the frameworks that are used by other success stories. So as we go on our journey, I believe that by taking quick restructuring steps such as reincorporating the company in a favorable jurisdiction and by surrounding the company with a stellar team, we will definitely have a shot at raising our valuation to over $100 million in the next 24 months. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get started.